Welcome to the first build video of Witch Queen. Now, with the rework to Void, you could probably assume where this video is going to go. That's right, it's a Stasis build. So, Witch Queen really helped out Stasis a lot with new Stasis weapons and a few other things, like Stasis exotics for all classes. And we're going to be using the Warlock's new Stasis exotic, the Osmiomancy gloves, paired with what is currently my favorite Stasis weapons. Perses D for your primary, and I throw on Palmyra-B just because it's high damage and it's nice to have. Other things you'll need for this: well mods, and of course Shadebinder. I also paired with Dead Messenger so that I could take out some shields easier and deal with match game like that. Our main goal with this build will be to spawn as many bleakwatchers as possible, so you may think that Demolitionist is the best thing for this, but I personally disagree. While yes, it does standalone give you more grenade energy, in the end I think Headstone is a much more viable perk for this build, being that there is the Whisper of Shards, which gives you enhanced grenade energy when you break a Stasis Crystal, and if you break a Stasis Crystal, that deals heavy damage to adds and nearby enemies to the Headstone, and among other perks, of course. And I picked the new Osmiomancy gloves on Warlock instead of the tried and true Eye of Another World, just for the fact that Eye of Another World, yes, it's passive and it's consistent, but Osmiomancy gloves give you 2 charges, so if you're running through a good distance of no enemies, you'll run into an encounter and have 2 grenades right off the bat, which is really helpful to start off an encounter. And the more Stasis Crystals you pop and the more Stasis you break, the more grenades you're going to get through time. Plus, all of the well mods that I haven't mentioned yet help you a lot too. And before I get into elemental well mods, I just want to line out how we're going to set up our Stasis. We're going to use Ice Flare bolts so that we can freeze more enemies at a time, being that when you shatter it, it sends out a cold snap basically and hits another enemy. And bleakwatchers, the main focus of this. This will give us 4 fragment slots, so let's do fissures to increase our damage and blast radius of our shatters. Let's do durance to make the bleakwatchers last longer and the slow effect from them last longer. Torment so that when we get hit, we create more grenade energy. In a GM situation, this isn't as helpful, so you may switch it out for the fragment that gives you damage resistance when standing near crystals or frozen enemies. And then, of course, as I said earlier, Whisper of Shards is great, gives you more grenade energy after breaking crystals. It's a great fragment to use for this build. And now it's time to get into our elemental well mods that are going to make this build excel. Okay, first, elemental armaments, so that your Perses D can spawn some nice and crispy Stasis elemental wells. And we're going to get a little more into that here soon. Well of Ordnance is a great one. Gives you grenade energy from solar wells. Well of Tenacity, so that's more of if you have someone on your team that is using void wells, then you can get resist times 3 every time you pick one up. You could switch that out for something else like a melee well maker, something like that. And then Explosive Well Maker, which with Stasis really helps. You spawn a solar elemental well every time you kill an enemy with an explosion. Shatters counts as explosions, including Stasis Crystal explosions. So you're going to be shattering a lot with this build, meaning that you're going to be creating a lot of solar elemental wells, and Well of Ordnance, solar elemental wells create more grenade energy. So it just feeds into itself. And then, of course, Font of Might, being that's a really nice damage buff on your primary weapon, or your heavy if you're using Palmyra-B, another Stasis weapon, one of the highest damage dealing heavies in the game. So it just flows together. Also, I was using Dead Messenger to cover all my shield needs for match game, and of course Perses D can handle anti-barriers because we have anti-barrier scout rifle this season. And let's not forget about Artifice Armor. If you have Artifice Armor, you can shake things up a little bit, change places of things. You have an extra slot where Font of Might can go because that's in the artifact. You can for sure have Melee Wellmaker. That's also in the artifact, really cheap. And Volatile Rounds if you have a way to make Void Orbs. Or if you have a teammate running Void Elemental Wells. You can get Tenacity and Volatile Rounds from them. And if you have a Void exotic, say a Telesto or Dead Messenger, you can cause volatile rounds really easily. Those are just some ideas to mix it up a little bit, but main premise is solid. Like, use this build, it's really fun. Lots of Bleak Watchers, more than I was getting last season. I know we don't have GMs yet, but I'm expecting it to be pretty viable in GMs, and it's probably what I'm going to try running the first few weeks to see how it goes. So yeah, I hope you try out this build and tell me how it goes. Give me your suggestions in the comments down below for other builds you want me to test out. Leave a like, subscribe, you know that whole thing. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.